Jai Baba to all of you. I will be just resuming the talk where I have left last time. It's a beautiful subject of discussion when it is connected with Meher Baba's pre-life. Baba taking over as avatar. Prior to that, how was Baba's life and who were Baba's family members and all that. Very interesting in the sense that it is said in the spiritual life, it is said or
Oh, I'm sorry, Pratap, can you unmute your microphone, Pratap? I'm sorry, I muted you.
I see. Now, can you hear now?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry.
No, it's my
It's all
fault.
right. So we were just discussing about the father and mother of Meherwan. And first, I was talking about the life of Sheriarji, who is Meherwan's father, Meherba's father. We have come up to a river where he was sitting there just to cross the river because he didn't know swimming. And some person, a very burly person, he comes and then asks him, why are you sitting here? Why are you sitting here? And that Sheriar said that I want to cross the river, but I cannot do it because I don't know swimming. And that person took him by hand and say, just come with me, I will take you across the river. And then they found he took Sheriarji from a what we call a rather to say a pool of mud or a dam of mud. On that they walked, and Shiraji kept wondering as to how I could not notice this before. Anyway, they crossed the river, and when Shiraji was just to thank that person, the person said, "No, don't thank me. I will take you to the village, and then you can. I will leave you there." Then both of them go to a pawn shop. There he left Shiraji, telling him that I will be back by 11 o'clock in the night. I will be back at 11 o'clock in the night, and then we go further. But then Shiraji kept waiting for him at the pawn shop. It was midnight, 12 o'clock, and then that person didn't come. So the shopkeeper was about to close his shop. He was locking the doors and all that. And Sheriyaji thought that this man didn't come up to it till this night. Then he asked that person, he asked the shopkeeper, as to how far is the river from here. And the person said that it is 60 miles. My God, in the night, half an hour, within half an hour, he took us here up to here. And this man says it is 60 miles from here. It is a miraculous thing. And then he wanted to, Shiraji started thanking God, thanking what he, and God's name, it doesn't come to my mind. Anyway, he was just thanking God. And then he all alone, he started walking towards Gujarat. And at Gujarat, again there was one river which was flowing with water, and there was one island in between. And then he wanted to go to the island and thereafter cross the river. But the people of that village said that don't go to that island because there is a big ghost there, living there, and he will trouble you. But Shriar said, I am not worried about, I am not afraid of these ghosts. I will go that way only. He went there, he went on that island, and he was lost there. In fact, he had a very troublesome time. He could not find out the way, and roaming out for quite some time. He came to the same place where he had started. But then he took a decision not to waste time now. Let us go like that only. And then he walked through the river, but then leaving the island aside, he walked. But there also he was caught up in a in a muddy road, muddy base under the water, and he was sinking, actually sinking, and he had his staff in his hand that was going down and down, and this man was pulling himself, but that as he pulled himself, he was going down. Somehow, with hard struggle, he could reach the bank by another bank of the river, and then he sat there and he slept there, and there he he was in the India now. He from Karachi. He came to India in Gujarat, state of Gujarat, and thereafter he kept on roaming from the contacting several persons. But that time he was thinking that mud. That time was actually a death for him. He thought that death is sure now because I may not live here. I may be sunk here in this water. And he was just praying to God that God at least show me a glimpse and then let me die. Whatever way you want me to die, I will die. But then just give me a glimpse of your beauty, your the glory. But that was not to be so. He went ahead. He could not, get all that, and then he was again started searching, going from place to place, and ultimately, at one place, he decided to do a what is called a chilla nashini. Nashini means that person who does it, and they have to draw a circle, bigger circle around themselves, sit in that circle without food and without water, and for 40 days they have to stay there. And during that time, it is a furious saints come to threaten this person. Then now Sharia decided to do that, undergo that trial, and he drew a circle and started sitting there. And then he found a lion right in front of him. After some time, but he didn't move. After some time, he he saw a tiger coming, jumping on him, but then also he didn't move. Thereafter, he found fire all around him. He could not. He didn't move. He saw all ghosts shouting at him and creating all sorts of fear in his mind, but he didn't move. And after 40, out of 40, after 30 days, it was just impossible for him to stay over there, and he broke that penance which he had undertaken, and he came out of the circle and was very much upset, very much disappointed that he could not complete this. But then that time, he heard a voice that whatever you are aspiring for, it's not in your fate. Your son will get it, and through your son you will get it. That is the famous sound which has become very famous in the case of Sherji. He heard that sound, and then he started towards Pune, Poona in Maharashtra. and somehow now he was very much used for walking and going from here to there, finding out ways and all that. So he approached Pune, and in Pune he found out the house of his elder sister, Piroza. Her name was Piroza. And when he was standing on the threshold, Piroza saw him, and she was so very happy, overjoyed with what, and he was also very happy. They both of them embraced each other with so much of love. And then Piroza tells him that this is wandering is enough now. Going from place to place, begging for food, it's none of your business now. You leave all that, take out from your mind, and then settle yourself in Pune. I am staying here. You settle yourself. You have some job and get married, get good family, children, all that. And Shiriyar was not inclined to this marriage. He was not inclined to marriage in spite of the fact that that voice had said that through your son you will get, but that to have that son one must get married, and he's very much against the married life. So that was there in his mind, but then he was just not much caring about that. He once he had decided not to marry, he was sticking to that only. And whenever his sister used to take out that to discuss that point of marriage, he would just slip from there, or he would avoid to listen to her. And once he said to his sister, after staying there for a few days, he said that now it is high time for me to resume my dervish life, fakir life. And she started crying. She started weeping, and she said that I cannot see you. I cannot just bear your wandering from this place to place and begging for food and all that. This life is not for you. Why don't you listen to me? I'm requesting you. I'm requesting you. Please stop that now. You stay over here, stay with me, and then pass your life in whatever way you want. But here, you stay in Pune with me. And to avoid that, even Xavier just started thinking about that, whatever she was telling, with tears in her eyes, and looking at the outside the window. There was one girl of 5 years old. She was very beautiful girl, very attractive, very agile, very playful girl. She was wearing a school dress and watching towards the school, wherever that was family school. So she was going towards that. And then he said, just to avoid further questions of his marriage, to avoid that, he said that if at all I marry, I'll marry with this girl. If at all I marry with this girl. And that was really, he thought, very sincerely, he thought that no fool will marry such a beautiful young girl with a person like me. I am from outside and inside, I am a fakir. Even from outside, I am so much grown. My age is so much, and she is just a young girl. And which father will get ready to marry her with me? That is what he thought, and he definitely thought that that father and mother definitely will refuse to marry that girl to me. And this man, as a morals, as an oath, he has taken that if at all I marry, I will marry with this girl. And that sister Firoza was so very happy, so very happy. She left him there and she went to her friend, Gulendun. Now, the name of the friend is Gulendun. She was the mother of that girl. And she just sat on her knees and started praying, weeping and praying to Gulendun that please help me, please help my brother. It is I have come in your shelter and you please help me in this difficult situation. And Gulendun was surprised, what has happened to you? Why are you worrying about? Then she said that such and such thing is in that my brother who is living a fakir life, and I was insisting for his marriage. He has taken a oath, rather to say oath, that if at all he marries, he will marry the girl that is your daughter. And Gulendun, she just see how the internal work, divine work goes on. In spite of the fact that Gulendun knew that my girl is so very small, 5 years old, and that man, this the so-called fakir, is quite aged person. She had a very respect for Sheriyar ji, because Sheriyar ji was very genius person, genius fakir, and she had a great respect for him. But then it was really a very odd match. Young soul, child, in her childhood, she is marrying with a aged person. It was just cannot imagine. It's an unimaginable relation. But then what something has worked in her heart, and she found a pity on that her friend Firoza and said that I promise you that I will marry my daughter to your brother. Now that promise was given, and another promise was given by Firoza to Sheriaji that I will try for you and get you married with that girl. So these two, they were both were bound in different promises. Same promise, but two pairs were bound in that promise. But when now little about this, I will just divert for a while, and we will just look at the how Shirin has come into picture. Shirin, that's Meher Baba's mother, how she has come into picture as a young girl of 5 years. Her father and mother, they were living in Iran. Her father's name was Dorab, and mother's name was Gulendun. Now, this Gulendun, when she was very young, and she was married to Dorab, once to maintain the family, Dorab was in must be some in a small business or some job. The earnings of the family were bigger earning, and to help the finance of that house, this Gulendun used to knit socks and some other articles, and she used to sell in the bazaar and then come home. That was her financially helping the family. And one day when she had returning from that bazaar, it was the evening time, and on the way, just to reach those days, it was very hard for the Zoroastrians to live safely in Iran because of the Islamic people. They were so very cruel towards this, so very cruel that any time anybody will kill anybody, any Muslim will kill any Zoroastrian, and no, he won't be answerable to anybody. That was a time, a very hard time, very difficult. We can't even imagine about that time. And that time, this girl, Volendun, was walking through a street. Thereafter, to have a shortcut, she entered a lane. In that lane, a person was sprinkling water just in front of his house. And that was a narrow lane. And when she tried to cross there, he stopped her. Don't go ahead. This is a very holy place. You stop there. Unless every drop is dried, you cannot cross from here. Now she was really in a fix what to do. She was frightened. In addition to that person stopping her way, there were other gundas who were gathered around her, and they were trying to tease her, touch her, or using some ugly, vulgar words for her. And she was just helplessly trying to save herself from this gundas. She was trying to help these helplessly from these gundas. And then an old person who was a Mohammedan, just mind well, a Mohammedan person, he saw these 3, 4 people, young boys are troubling this girl, young girl. He ran there. He had a can in his hands, and he shouted out, "What you are doing with that girl? Get away from there!" And he started beating the people, beating those boys. Of course, the boys ran away from there. He took that girl and escorted her to her house. He gave her to in charge of her husband, and then disappeared from there. You see, when Shirin, after Shirin grew up, after Mirwan was born, and after this is just little deviation, just to link up some incident with this. Now, when Shirin was very much upset with Babajan, she thought that this Babajan has done some magic on my son, and that is the reason why he is not attending to his daily life properly. He is not studying. He has left the college, and he is not listening to me for having a family life and all that. But then she wanted to quarrel with Babajan, and for that matter, she took her mother, Bolendun, the woman which we are talking about. She was threatened by the boys. That Gulendun was Shirin's mother, and mother and daughter, they went to Babajan, and that time Babajan had a very long talk with Gulendun, and there Babajan reminded her that in Iran such and such incident had happened, that where you were caught by these four, 5 gundas, and they were about to malign you, your purity. They were bent upon to spoil that. Babajan reminded, this is the divine intervention in one's life. When she reminded Gulendun was so very happy with talking with Babajan, and she forgot to fire her on the request of her daughter Shirin. So this incident has been linked. I am linking with this incident because Babajan didn't know. Babajan was not the person who had come to save her. She may be having some connection with Babajan. Perhaps he must be the agent of Babajan. One cannot say. But anyway, then after this, Dora thought that it's unsafe to live in Iran now.
Pratap, you're frozen. We can't hear you.
Sorry? You can't hear?
We
my God.
can, I think some can hear. I can hear fine. How about you, Diana? I think maybe it's just your
Yeah, I can hear. It's fine
Yeah.
for me.
yeah. Please.
good here. Good here.
You some points you have missed, or you have heard whatever I have talked.
Yes, we
You
understand. We hear.
you
It's
you
Okay.
you don't want me to repeat anything, no?
No, it's okay. It's
Uh,
okay.
because there is likely to a confusion, because I have connected with this incident,
Ah,
the incident of Golendun, surrounded by those gundas, those those boys who were attacking her. I have connected with Baba Jan, because after years after Mir Baba's birth and after contact with Baba Jan, Mirwan's contact with Mirwan, Baba Jan, this happened, and Baba Jan reminded her of that incident which had happened years ago in Iran.
mm,
So that I was trying to connect with this, how the divine game is being played under the surface. So anyway, now I was talking about this Gulendun and her husband. Her husband's name was Dorab, and they had decided after this incident, they decided to migrate to India. But then she was carrying, she was pregnant. The Gulendin was pregnant by her second child. The first child was a girl. First child was a girl. Her name was Daula, and she was 3 years old. At that time, again, Gulendun, she became pregnant, and they could not immediately run to India. So they had to wait for some time, some months. And but then before her birth, before her delivery, they all went to Bombay. And in Bombay, they stayed for some time. And in Bombay, Gulendun gave a birth to second girl, who is Shirin, the mother of Mehrban or Meher Baba. So that is the connection in between this whole family. Now, after this Mehrban was born, after Shirin was born, she was so very beautifully said that she was so very beautiful and so very active and agile and very playful, that everybody used to like her and everybody will come to see her. That after her birth, they all came to Pune and they started living in Pune. Dorab, he found he started a tea shop in Pune. Tea shop was a very common business in those days for Iranis. We have, when we were schooling, we have seen so many tea shops of Iranis in Pune. So many, especially in the camp area. And we used to take tea in these Irani restaurants. He So he had opened a tea shop, and he was living there with Gulendun, her two daughters. One is Daula and another is Shirin. Now, this Shirin, when she was 5 years old, Sheriarji saw her through the window, and he said, he took an oath that I will, if at all I marry, I will marry with the girl. That is how the whole incident has been connected with each other. Now, this Piroza was knowing Gulendun, they were friends, and on her insistence, on her persuading her, Gulendun also agreed to marry that young girl of 5 years with a with a person, with a aged person, elderly person. Dorab was very much upset with that, and he very much opposed. He opposed. But then both Golendur said that I have already given promise. I have already given promise. Those days, perhaps in those days, the promises were very. The people used to you used to fulfill the promise very sincerely, very sincerely. I have seen in my life that Baba, Meher Baba was very particular about keeping up the promise. Very much particular about keeping the promise. He would say that if you have any promise, you have to fulfill it. He was very much stern about it. So anyway, now that marriage was to take place. They agreed with each other. Only Gulendun and Piruz, they agreed with each other, and Sherir also agreed to marry that girl. Now, when they were having a agreement, marriage agreement, they pass a ring in the finger of that girl. She had one silver ring, and he passed it on the finger of Shirin. She was very young, 5 years old, and she was very much happy about it. She was showing to every friend of hers, saying that it's a beautiful ring I have got this, and no, exactly not knowing what for it is given to her. She was not aware of it. But then when she attained the age of 14, and when Sheriar attained the age of 39, both were married with each other. Now Sheriar was very sincere about his fakir life. After he entered into married life, there also he made full justice to the married life also. He was a very nice person, very noble person, and very good at heart, and little humorous person. I mean, and very sincere. Now, when he is married to Shirin, he has to maintain the family. That responsibility has come on him. So he has maintained the family. For that matter, he accepted a job as a gardener, maintaining a garden, somebody's garden. And thereafter, after some time, he took up the job of cooking also. Perhaps he must be knowing cooking because of his fakir life. So he started the job of cooking also, and thereafter he put a stall of tea stall, tea shop. He opened tea shop in Pune, and he was earning enough to just enough to maintain the family. And in 1893, the couple had first boy. The name given to him was Jamshed, and this Shirin, she had no love for that boy because her heart was not matured enough to flow that motherly love to this child. She was, in fact, very shy even to look at that child. And the child was given to the charge of the elder brother of Shiriyar. the child was given to their to them. Sorry, the yes, I think no. She. The child was given in charge of Daula, the elder sister of the Gulendun, and both were staying in Pune, close by in the outskirts of Pune. And the child was brought up by that family. Daula, that is Gulendun's elder sister, and her husband. Both were staying at Loni, a place called Loni. And then, when the second child was born, that is Merwan, our famous Mer Baba, the story goes he was born in such an hospital. There is a connection in a sort of a maybe said to be a spiritual connection, because Jesus Christ was crucified by Jews. Hitler was a Jew, and they were deprived of any land on this earth for ages, for years and years. And the funny thing or a destiny is that the hospital in which Mehrwaz was born was in the name of one Jew. His name was David Sassoon. That hospital name is Sassoon Hospital, David Sassoon Hospital. A very big hospital, very big public hospital, especially for the poor people. And it is completely aided by government. That recently another building has come up of 9-storied building, wherein our people on our request to the Maharashtra government, they have created one memorial room. I would say not a hall. It's not very big room, but then enough room as a memorial on the occasion of the 100th anniversary of that hospital. The hospital had invited the officer of the hospital, dean of the hospital. He had gone to Guruprasad to invite Mer Baba for that centenary function. But Mer Baba said that I am in seclusion and I won't be able to come attend this function. He gave a donation of something about 3,000 rupees or so. And then he sent his brother Jal and Adi Kirani for that function. That function, it was under the chief guest was one Mr. Ginde, who was a best world famous neurosurgeon, and he was a Baba lover, very staunch Baba lover. The whole happening, I see a divine hand, because now the life which was taken up by Sharia, anybody will imagine that Sharia must get a high spiritual status, that is the God realization or something of that sort. But he didn't get it. People like us, they look at these personalities, these persons as a guidance for their own life. But in spite of so many hardships undergone by Sharia ji, that was not to be. That ultimate end was not in his luck, because there was another duty which was to be carried out by him as per the divine will. The marriage is so very odd. A 14 years girl is marrying with a person who is 39 years old. It's so much of difference. Of course, though in those days, there were many such cases that there used to be difference in the age of the husband and wife. But then it is not so much. This is too much. It's about three times elder to Shirin. All this, I think, you see, this goes to prove that the destiny takes its own course. Whatever you may plan to do in your life, it is the destiny which makes you move according to what is destined for you. Somewhere Baba has beautifully, recently I've read that Baba has distinguished in between the destiny and the fate, one's fate and destiny. Destiny is the divine will. Under that divine will, everything goes on, everything happens. It is said that even in the extreme terms, they said that even a leaf cannot move without the divine will. So all that happening is according to the divine will. But the course of one's life depends upon the past karmas, we call karma, or doing your good doing or your bad doing. It depends, your luck depends upon that. And once you, all that, whatever aspects you may take in your life, it may be repetition of something, it may be going to churches and temples and mosques, it may be sitting in meditation, it may be having some practices, or it may be some social work or charitable work. Whatever it may be, the resultant product is that you meet with a perfect master. That is the most important in one's life. That has been explained by Baba, that all these austerities that you observe in your life, personal life, they result in your meeting a perfect master. And once you meet a perfect master, then you have to give up everything and behave and act according to his orders. That is the obedience. That is why Baba has always insisted on this obedience. He was very much particular about this obedience. Surrender is the last, highest state of obedience. But obedience is also very important. More than love, it is said that obedience is important. So once we come in contact with a perfect master, what remains with us is to obey the master. And that obedience is of different types. It says that they are giving a very famous example of Kalyan, a disciple of Ramdas Swami. He was a lover of Ramdas Swami and very obedient lover of Ramdas. Once Ramdas tied one mango, ripe mango on his knee, and put a bandage on that and said that my knee is very much in pain, and it is having pus in it, and I am not able to walk, and I am able to sit quietly. See, if some of my disciples, if she sucks the whole pus, then it will be cured. And everybody was falling back. Nobody dared to do such a type of obedience. And this Kalyan, he came forward and sucked. When he started sucking, he found that it was a mango, sweet mango. And furthermore, the obedience says that if it is a daytime and the master says it is night, you must start putting on the lights immediately, taking the master's word to be final truth. And if in a night time, if the master says that it is day, you should put off the lights and behave as if it is a day. Beyond that, Baba said that if the master says right in the middle night, if he says this is a day, the complete obedience will be to see it as a day, not just to accept that it is a day, just to see that night as a day, and vice versa. So this is a extreme state of obedience. It is expected in a case of a master and disciple because the master only knows the setting of your samskaras, past samskaras, and accordingly he gives the instructions. If you follow instructions to the last word, then your life is completely goes in his hands, and he takes out the best of it. The best of it. Whatever is best for you, he can take out. But if you disobey and create obstructions on his way, then it takes time. That is, in fact, in short, a total reality about the samskara and about the master-disciple relationship. So, in the whole life of Sheriyarji, we don't find that he had any particular master. On his own, he was going on searching for God, searching for a glimpse of God, without knowing that where God stays and where God can be found and how God looks. Without knowing all these things, he was just tirelessly searching for God, desperately searching for God, indiscriminately searching for God. This search, in particular case of Sheriyarji, this search appears to be or is a purposeful search, because the destiny was that he had to give birth to a child who will be the avatar of this age. In that sense, even though there was no master behind him, his whole course of life had been working on that, and ultimately it has resulted into his marrying a girl and then producing children. This couple had about first was Jamshed, another was Merwan, third was Jal, fourth was Bairam, then Adi, Mani, and there was another girl by name Freni. So about 7 or 9 children, this and two had gone in the from the birth itself, but the one Freni girl by name Freni, she died after when up to 3 years old. Now look at this family. Look at this family of Merwan. It is a matter I am putting before you to think over. None of the family members have a special history of spirituality or their role in the spiritual mission of Avtar Mir Baba, except money. Money has worked for Mir Baba's cause. Money has worked for Mir Baba's mission. She has been a lady member of the Mir Baba family, Mir Baba Mandali, and she has done a lot of work for Mir Baba. But look at the other members. Other members do not have a direct role in the Avtaric mission. They are just born in that family. Jamshed, he was a very lovable person. I have not seen that, but many Mandali used to like him very much. He passed away quite early. Nirvan, of course, the avatar of this age, in his family, Mirwan's family, all these family of brothers and sisters and mother and father. His younger brother Jan, he used to take part to some extent whenever Baba wants him to join him in his mission, but not completely dedicated to that cause. He had his own sources of livelihood, and then there was Bairam, who had his own family with three boys and I think one girl. He had his own family. He was having himself a photography, and he had a black room also for developing the films and all that. Most of his earnings were out of that. And Adi was not here. Adi was always in England. He has gone there and stayed there. So all these members, if you think of all these members, how much their role has been in Baba's mission. We find only Mani, who had dedicated herself completely to the cause of the Avtaric work. Now, what could be the past karmas, good karma, good doings of these people to having born in the family of Avatar? One cannot imagine. I fail to understand that their life was very usual life, like you and me. And not only that, but the whole family was struggling to live out of their limited earnings. Mir Baba, the owner of the whole world, his family members were struggling for livelihood. I tell you one very heart-touching incident. Very heart-touching incident. When I heard about this, when I read about this, I could not bear it. In fact, what had happened that in Mumbai, I think must have been at the place of Nariman Dada Chanji. Baba had helped some families. Baba had felt some poor families. He had washed their feet as he used to do. He had washed their feet and he had paid some amount, good amount, not very good, but they token amount. See. And in that, so several families, about 7, 8 families, the heads of the families were brought there, and Baba had bowed down to each one and gave that money. In that, Baba's brother was there. In that, Baba's brother was there. Baba bowed down, Baba washed his feet, Baba bowed down to him and then gave that money to him. When I read this, I was very much disturbed. People, outside people may be thinking that along with the God man, he is a God man, he is the owner of the entire world. He may be having plenty of money and money must be rolling in money. But that was not so. If we study the financial aspect of Meher Baba's life, even Meher Baba's life, the financial aspect of Meher Baba's life, it is in itself it is a very deep and good study. You will find that every time Baba had thousands and thousands of rupees must have passed through Meher Baba's hands. But he was not owner of that money. From one side he is getting, another hand he is giving away. However, that has been so. Baba's personal life was so very simple. So very simple, I tell you. One cannot imagine. All those cars and these, they were belonging to his devotees or his lovers who had dedicated their lives for him. And one car which Baba had used for quite number of years, that car is still there, lying there in the D hostel, in C hostel. Then the number of the car is 1893. That was very famous for us because as soon as we see that car on the roads, we'll run after it, thinking that Meher Baba must be there in that car. And there used to be Meher Baba many times. So in Pune, whenever we used to spot that car, we will run after it. So that 1893 car was belonging to Adi Kirani. Nariman used to provide cars for Baba when Baba needed it. And Baba had, the only need was just for the travel, for must work, not for any recreation, not for any comfort, special comforts. It was not the cause for using these cars. That way, Baba has undergone every hardship. Baba, leave aside the Baba's fasts. It is unimaginable life of fast and seclusion. One cannot imagine how Baba lived without food for so many days and months and things. And that food he used to take very simple food, very simple food. The days he used to wear is very simple dress. The same type of dress, the same colors, same days. A master of the whole world. His personal life was so very simple. But thousands and thousands of rupees have passed through his hands. He was not touching money except for giving to must or poor people. Except that, he will not touch money. Say, I am very much attracted towards this subject of how how that finance was being run in Baba's group, Baba's whole course of his mission, how that finance is to be. It's really a wonderful study, I would say. Anyway, that is not the subject today. We have completed the time, and I would like to have. Would you like to have Aarti and then finish up today's talk?
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. And which Aarti you would like me to sing? Any?
Can you choose favorite you like?
Sorry?
Can you choose which you enjoy to sing?
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. जिसकी सृष्टि का निर्माण उसकी दैवी अनंतता का कैसे हो अनुमान आदि सचेतन शांति निकेतन आदित्य चेतन शांति निकेतन नमो ब्रह्म आओ मेहर प्रभु आरती अपनाओ मेहर प्रभु आरती अपनाओ मेरे प्रभु आरती अपनाओ प्रेम दीप में ये जलाओ प्रेम दीप में ये जलाओ निबिड़ अंधेरा मिटता पाओ निबिड़ अंधेरा मिटता पाओ अपना सब कुछ तुम्हें चढ़ाओ, अपना सब कुछ तुम्हें चढ़ाओ, तुम मुझे खुश रखाओ, मेरे प्रभु आरती अपनाओ, मेरे प्रभु आरती अपनाओ। जीवन की हर सांस हमारी, जीवन की हर सांस हमारी, बन जाए प्रभु गति तुम्हारी, बन जाए प्रभु गति तुम्हारी, हे करुणा कर लीलाधारी, हे करुणा कर लीलाधारी, तुम करुणा बरसाओ, मेरे प्रभु आरती अपनाओ, मेरे प्रभु आरती अपनाओ। बने आरती जीवन मेरा, बने आरती जीवन मेरा, आदि अंत का लय हो घेरा, आदि अंत का लय हो घेरा, खुले नयन और दिखे सवेरा, खुले नयन और दिखे सवेरा, तुम मुझे में छा जाओ, मेरे प्रभु आरती अपनाओ, मेरे प्रभु आरती अपनाओ। आदि सचेतन शांति निकेतन, आदि सचेतन शांति निकेतन, नमो ब्रह्म आवो, मेरे प्रभु आरती अपनाओ, मेरे प्रभु आरती अपनाओ, मेरे प्रभु आरती अपनाओ। अवतार मेर बाबा की जय। जय बाबा।
Thank you, Pratap.
जय
Beautiful. Thank you.
जय बाबा, जय बाबा, जय बाबा।
I love to hear all the stories. Oh, sorry.
I just forgot to ask about if any queries or any questions are there in your minds. Anybody wants?
I have a question.
No.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Who gave mother's milk to Shireen's firstborn child? Who gave mother's milk?
Just a minute.
जमशेदला कोणाकडे सांभाळायला?
This first son, whose name was Jamshed, he was given in charge of a woman by name Daula, and Daula was the elder sister of Gulendun. Gulendun is Shirin's mother. Shirin's mother. And that means that child was given to the elder sister of Sheriarji. The child was given in charge of the elder sister of Sheriarji.
Okay.
And that couple brought him up, but he died at a very young age. You got my point?
Yeah.
She was Sheriarji's elder sister. I'm sorry. Oh my God. I have made a mistake. Sorry, very sorry. She was the first daughter of Gulendun. She was the first daughter of Gulendun.
Shirin's sister.
And that is, she was the sister of Shirin.
Mhm.
Now you got it. I'm sorry for that mistake. And many of the names are very much similar. So we get confused at times. Now Daula is also a name of Mehra's mother. Mehra's mother was also Daulat Mai. She used to be called as Daulat Mai. Daula is the short form of that Daulat.
Mhm.
Okay.
And Daulat literally means in Hindi language, Daulat means a treasure, a wealth. So we stop here now, or anything else? Hello.
Yeah. I think what Diana was asking was how did they nurse the baby? How did Daula, who gave the baby mother's milk? Maybe from Shireen, but and maybe we don't know that, but yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. So shall we
All right.
call out 3 times?
Yes, thank you, Pratap. All
Please,
right.
please. You will take a lead. You take a lead.
Avatar, Meher
Meher
Baba,
Baba
Ki
ki
Jai.
jai.
Avatar,
Avatar, Meher
Meher
Baba
Baba
ki
ki
Jai.
jai.
Avatar, Meher Baba,
Baba
Ki
Baba
ki
Jai.
ki
jai. Oh, yeah.
Before we stop here, I had one question for you all of that. All these stories you must have read. Many of you must have read. So, do you feel that anything I'm just making more clear and adding to some information? Do you
Yes,
feel that?
Yeah,
Do you feel
yeah.
that way?
yes,
All right.
yes. You
All right.
add all the details, all the small stories, and
Yeah.
you put them together.
Oh,
It's
thank
wonderful
you.
yes, it's wonderful.
Helping
Yeah.
Thank you.
to see the whole story.
Yes.
Helping.
Yes.
Thank you.
We have the
Thank
whole picture. Yes.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Remarkable story. What interesting people. Yeah, serious.
Yeah.
Wow. Fakir. Thank you so much, Pratap. Thank you for coming every Friday.
Jai Baba, Jai Baba, my pleasure. Thank you so much. And Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba. All right, I'll stop recording now.
Thank you, Pratap. Jai Baba.